This conference will now be recorded.
All right, let's get started. As always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only. Nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. So let's take a look at what went on today. So this morning was a bit I don't want to say odd. It was just kind of at certain times we're real slow. At certain times we saw a lot of movement coming back in. Our morning list, there wasn't much on it that I really liked too much. I mean, we'll go over AMD in a second, but ALT. Whatever happened this morning that dropped this thing down from 10 down to 5, that was it. I mean, there was just absolutely no recovery from it. It did pretty much nothing. There was really no reason for us to even look at it. Now, PBR ended up making more of a move than I pretty much ever see. Now, it only moved 65 cents in total, but it still moved more than the usual 20 cents that whenever I put it on the list, it ends up moving. The one thing about it though is I just didn't like the way it was trading. There was too many other things out there that just had such better prints. And PBR, it traded way too consolidated. We're talking about 60 million shares. It's going to be very mixed between the prints on the buying and asking, and the ask and the bid and buying and selling, and we saw exactly that. And I barely looked at it whatsoever. There was just, once again, better stuff out there. And then AMD is still showing. I mean, it gave us a whole bunch of selling. Remember, we talked about it this morning at that 27 level. We didn't have any prints at 27, but we had some beautiful selling that came into it. We ended up moving back down, pulling up from there, and coming underneath. Now 26 coming over and looking at, we got a lot of volume that came back into it, but once again, the prints were very mixed. I'm just going back now and looking on there because obviously I was at lunch. Let's take a look and see if we do have any. So we do have new selling that did come in at that 26 level, okay? But we also had some, a lot of covering that came in as well. But definitely new selling that started it off the table, it looks like. Yeah, huge amount of new selling that we can see coming into AMD. So I'm going to be expecting a pull-up back, and it just is not showing us whatsoever that this thing is going to be done. Do I really expect too much of it from the afternoon? Not really, and I don't really expect too much from anything. Overall, it's been very, very slow since pretty much, right about noon, which is to be expected. But basically the saving grace that we had out there today, or one of them, would be SQ. Now, SQ is just, I mean, you're talking $9 move towards the downside today. I mean, absolutely incredible move. And it hasn't been a hard one to read. We just continuously keep seeing new selling coming in at our level. So we just had a few ask prints that came in at that 84. But before that even happened, and it's not going to let me show it, but I have it on my other screen, we got new selling that came in at that 84 level as well. So I'm going to be expecting it to pull back up, but they're certainly showing more room towards that downside. We're going to be keeping this on our list for the afternoon. Just keep in mind, though, there's a ton of selling that we've seen, throughout the entire day. So for this thing to start, it's moved $9. For this thing to pull up, $2 or $3, that's not going to be that big of a deal for that to happen at all. But overall, probably one of the best trades that we've had all day long. Moving over to another one that worked out real well for us is Facebook. Now, Facebook this morning had beautiful selling that came in at 155. As we came back closer to that, we got a nice trigger that came in right about here. Ended up pulling back a whole bunch. We do have new selling that came in at 155 that happened. This was right before I ended up going to lunch. So we're pulling up from that, but there's certainly, once again, more room to the downside on that. Next one going to be looking at is IGC. Okay, IGC, beautiful trade this morning. I mean, it was pretty much like clockwork. We knew we had great prints that came in at the 5 level. We ended up pulling back down. We hit our 482 print line, and we got a trigger right back towards that upside. And it pretty much did not stop until it did not make it till 6. And then we ended up getting our trigger back to the downside. One thing you do want to keep in mind, and if we put like a line right there, or you might want to put a line because there's no print line there, but we do have great prints at 550 on the ask side. Unfortunately, you can see the way that it's trading right now is very sporadic. It's just kind of all over the place, but it's certainly showing us that there is more room for this thing to be moving back towards, especially towards that 6 level, because from 550 up, pretty much even underneath that 6 level, we do have some really good buying that's sitting up there. So certainly something that we're going to be keeping our eye on for the afternoon. Once again, am I expecting a lot from anything? Unfortunately not. And we can see the volume in the market today has not been great all over the place. And our afternoons have been kind of slow as it is, let alone the fact that we are on a holiday and a lot of people are off today. So that's pretty much what I have right now because there's really not much that's giving us any type of chance of really being able to do anything, giving us any, real variables that are showing us. Oh, I want to talk about CGC though for a second. So CGC was probably one of the easiest trade besides SQ. SQ was pretty easy. There wasn't much that we had to watch. But CGC probably one of the easier trades that we had. I just want to talk about the entry point for a second. So we saw as it was coming back up at 49, we had beautiful ask prints. Okay, at 49.50, we had great ask prints, and then we had really great ask prints at that 50 level. So the reason that I ended up, and I told you guys, ended up going short underneath that 50 on a feeler, even though I didn't get a trigger, is because 50 is one of the biggest psychological levels you have out there. Okay, so you were talking about 25, 50, 75, 100, but 50 and 100 are really big deals for a stock. I mean, you could see SQ printed on the ask at 100. So overall, someone thinks SQ is going above 100, but look at how big of a pullback it's ended up having today from where that 100 level started. So that it's just a very hard level. It gets for a stock to actually be able to hold. It gets rejected a lot. So when we know we're coming to an extremely rare level that's even harder to hold, this in this case being that 50 level, we got all those ask prints that came in. It told us that there was going to be a very, very good chance that this was going to be the spot that we were going to end up pulling back underneath that 49 from where it originally started with these ask prints. All right, so we ended up coming back down pretty much to that print line. It kind of played around a little bit, and now it's just satisfying all the buying that we had at 49, at 49.50, and then we're going to at some point break that 50 level because we have a ton of buying that came in previously. Okay, once again, does that mean that it's going to be easy for it to happen right this second? No, not at all, because 50 is a very, very strong level. All right, a huge psychological level. Still something that I want to keep an eye on, but it's going to go on the side list because volume's going to have to come out of nowhere. Okay, CGC you can see has already had a pretty big day, $2.54 in its range. But even just from coming up above that 49 where we had that buying, it's really moved a whole lot today, especially considering if you look over here, look at the volume on the daily chart. So it's really, like I said, it's really moved a lot on pretty much lower volume. Should it hit, get around, this over here? Yeah. Is it going to hit its average? I highly, highly doubt it as we come in. I'm seeing odd that there's this much down movement on most of everyday stocks with low volume in the market. Well, you know what? At the same time, they could just be going out there and they could be setting themselves up for the week. Moving a stock down, you got to remember to build a position. If you want a stock to go up, okay, the best thing that could happen for you is you bringing the stock down to buy more shares, only having to sell little amounts of shares. So a lot of times you'll see them use that to their advantage. Okay, does that mean that SQ didn't have a ton of selling today? No, there was no question in the book. Okay, but when we look over on a lot of the down movements that we came in, I don't know if there's some type of political issue or whatever it was, but frankly I don't care. So it's just going to be a matter of just following those prints. But we definitely have got some bigger moves coming in. I mean, if you look at a stock like Apple. So Apple's one of the, the bases that I use on, pretty much what's going to be going on with our everyday stocks. And if you look, I mean, it moved it all the way down, but look what the volume is. So this is a perfect chance. If you have good buying that's sitting up here, 24.50 from previously, okay, from Friday or we know there's buying at 225. Okay, it's a perfect chance to lower the stock price and build up your position on that lower volume. So it works out really well for them. My apologies, didn't mean to send that. Oh, that's fine. Just so that's basically the exact reason why, and that's exactly what we're seeing coming into it. And then, like I said, other than that, guys, I don't see anything else out there that really gives us, any type of hopes that aren't just going to come out of nowhere. PYX, this was a beautiful call out by Randy. Coming in, had beautiful prints at 37. We ended up pulling back, boom, ended up exploding out of there. So this was, a really good one. It's just right now there's nothing going on. The trading is absolutely dead. After this volume, it just has never came back yet. So if anything's going to happen with it, it's going to happen out of nowhere. There's no variables that tell us, okay, let's expect this to actually happen. And other than that, guys, like I said, just a slow Columbus Day afternoon so far, what we've seen. So overall, I mean, it's been a good day considering the fact that we really didn't expect much at all. All right, a lot of times when you have these holidays that the market's open and people are home, you got to remember the kids are home, so a lot of people aren't out there trading. And, we see it get a lot worse than this. And this really hasn't been that bad. So, we're going to hope to see some type of volume come in into the afternoon. But just remember, we don't have to force anything. If the volume doesn't come in, guess what? We don't have to do anything. And we won't do anything. Okay, there's no reason to force anything, especially with the day that we've had in this SQ and that trade with CGC, which is probably one of the easier ones we've seen all day. SQ is pulling up. Yes, I'm watching that. It's coming to that 85. But remember, 85 is going to be a psychological level too. 85 is a hard level for this stock to be able to hold as well. All right, guys, so let's get ready for our afternoon. I mean, there's not really too much to get ready for, but I'm going to be scanning. I'll be here for the, until the 4 o'clock, until our closing bell meeting. And hopefully, like I said, we'll get some volume pushes that come back in and we'll find a few things to trade. All right, so I'll see everyone in the room and happy trading.